Okay, Lisa, now that we have figured out who is a part of our team for this whole process, it's time for the IEP meeting. But wait, how in the world did this IEP process come to be in the first place? To answer that question, we have to take a look at history. There have been many court cases over the years that have influenced the IEP process. However, we are going to take a look at the Board of Education of the Hendricks-Hudson Central School District versus Rowley, 1982. This case addressed the critical importance of the IEP. It started with Amy Rowley. She was deaf and living with her deaf parents, and currently placed in a general education kindergarten classroom. According to her IEP, she was afforded multiple accommodations, including a sign language interpreter. With these accommodations, Amy successfully finished kindergarten. However, when it was time for her to start the first grade, the school decided to drop the interpreter from Amy's IEP. This led her parents to file for due process, arguing that while Amy was doing well in school, she was not doing as well as she could be if she had an interpreter. The court ruled in favor of the parents. However, this decision was appealed by the school district to the Second Circuit Court. This court also ruled in favor of the parents, but the Board of Education then moved on to request something called a writ of certiorari, questioning what truly constituted an appropriate education. They claimed that the U.S. District Court had misinterpreted fate. Amy's parents argued that their child wasn't reaching her full potential and was lacking equal educational opportunity. Interestingly, the Supreme Court ruled that the intent of the IDEA was more to open the door to public education to the handicapped, not to guarantee any particular level. Thus, they ruled in favor of the school district, and Amy remained in first grade with all of her accommodations, minus an interpreter. What does this mean for you? Well, it means that Tommy's IEP must meet the Rowley standard, which asks two questions. Has the school complied with procedures of the IDEA, and is the IEP reasonably calculated to bring about educational benefit? This standard guards against procedural violations in developing Tommy's IEP and protects the school system. It ensures that FAPE is determined on a case-by-case basis. Now that the history is in the books, let's get back to Tommy's IEP meeting. During the meeting, each person will take turns in the discussion of Tommy's strengths, your concerns for enhancing Tommy's education, the results of the evaluation, as well as Tommy's academic, developmental, and functional needs. This is a time for your voice to be heard. Within the content of Tommy's IEP, 4 questions should and will be addressed in the IEP meeting. What are the student's unique educational needs that must be addressed in developing their IEP? What goals will enable the student to achieve meaningful educational benefits? What services will be provided to address the student's educational needs and enable the student to achieve their goals? And how will we monitor the student's progress to determine if his or her program is effective? The IEP contains essentially 8 different sections of varying lengths. The first section is the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. The purpose of this statement is to describe the problems that interfere with a student's education so that annual goals can be developed. The statement is the starting point from which the team develops the IEP and measures its success. The second section is measurable annual goals. This section helps determine whether the student is making educational progress and if the SPED program is providing meaningful educational benefits. This brings us to the third section, special education, related services, and supplementary aids and services. This section addresses the services and equipment provided to help Tommy benefit from special education. The fourth section of the IEP is the extent to which students will not participate in the general education classroom. The IEP must delineate the amount of time the student will not participate in a general ed class, and the student must be allowed to interact with peers to the maximum extent appropriate in both academic and non-academic settings. When choosing the setting for your child's education, the IEP must place him in their least restrictive environment. Continue on to part 3.
Created using Powtoon.